Like if a bear falls...
Good evening, gentlemen. Routine Christmas inspection.
You get out of here!
Okay, all right. I'll be on my way.
Go on home, your mom will be waiting.
I was hoping you'd get your hackles up. It's...
I'm Superantonio. A Very Arthur Morgan Christmas in Red Dead Redemption 2. An original story by Superantonio. If you are new to this channel, greetings. I'm your friendly neighbor Superantonio, and please be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell if you would enjoy seeing more of my Red Dead Redemption 2 content. It was a cold and wintry night at Lake Isabel, and the moon reflected off the crisp, frozen landscape, casting a chilling silver haze over the snow and ice. Arthur Morgan and his trusty steed Biscuit were camped on the lake, minding their own business, perhaps searching for a moose, or a legendary white bison, or perhaps the noble white Arabian. The date was December 24th, Christmas Eve, though Arthur was barely aware of it. Christmas was not important to Arthur, and though he was happy to exchange gifts with the gang, miscellaneous pieces of jewelry for the girls, gold belt buckles for the boys, except of course for Dutch and Hosea, who always received gold pocket watches, Arthur for the most part preferred to spend his Christmas holiday in solitude, usually in nature, with only the creatures of the wilderness as his boon companions. Some of those boon companions may end up with an express round between the eyes, but no worries, those animals were only sleeping. Arthur was thinking about sleeping himself when he heard the crack of a frozen branch at the edge of the campfire's shadowy orange glow. "Who goes there?" Arthur called out, one hand on his cattleman, feeling a bit like Bill Williamson for some reason. "Merely a humble traveler," a warm and friendly voice called out, "hoping to share your fire and, perhaps, if you and your horse are amenable, a bit of Christmas cheer," as the stranger spoke and stepped into the light. He was a curious figure, in a red coat trimmed with white fur, a big white beard, and a waistline that rivaled Mr. Pearson's. The stranger was unarmed, except of course for the Viking battle axe with Norse runes engraved in the handle, which was stuck jauntily in his wide black belt. Despite his axe, Arthur felt no threat from this stranger. In fact, he was almost overcome with strange, giddy feelings of fellowship and goodwill. Even Biscuit snorted happily at the stranger in red, and Biscuit was an excellent judge of character. "Come closer, mister," Arthur replied. "Sit by the fire and warm yourself." "Thank you, kind sir," the gentleman laughed as he sat down across from Arthur on a log that Arthur had not noticed before. "It's dangerous out here, friend," Arthur told him. "If the cold don't get you, the wolves will." "It is far more cold where I come from," the gentleman replied. "And as for wolves, are we not all brothers, under the skin?" His kind blue eyes twinkled as he spoke, and his gentle smile inspired another wave of warmth and comfort in Arthur. "I guess if you say so," Arthur said, confused. "I do say so," the friendly gentleman in red replied. "And I will say more," he added, as he pulled out a small, worn leather notepad from a hidden pocket in his red coat. "You look like an Arthur," he told Arthur as he consulted his notes. A mighty, brave, honorable, and valiant name, to quote Google. His eyes sparkled with a secret humor. Worthy indeed of the title King. What the hell is a Google, mister? Arthur demanded. And how in the hell do you know my name? Technically 10 raised to the power of 100, the gentleman replied, or the number 1, followed by 100 zeros. In answer to your first question. As to the second, I know many things, and I never forget. Okay, mister, Arthur replied, even more confused. This conversation was taking a strange turn, Arthur thought, but then again, it was a strange night. You may call me, in case you are wondering, and I'm sure you are, the gentleman said reassuringly, Mr. Nick, at your service. Arthur Callahan, pleased to meet you, Mr. Nick. The gentleman in red burst into peals of laughter from deep within his soul, and each burst seemed to echo across the frozen lake. Arthur Callahan, you don't say. It's not polite to lie amongst friends, and I can assure you, Arthur, we have always been friends. Old friends. Perhaps, he laughed again, your oldest friend. Arthur stared at the gentleman's warm, kindly eyes across the glow of the fire, and even though he could not recall ever seeing him before, Arthur felt a certain sense of familiarity and ease with this stranger that he could not explain. Well, Arthur said awkwardly, some folks may know me better as Arthur Morgan. Well said, Mr. Morgan, Mr. Nick replied happily. Honesty is one of the foundations of a great friendship, and I am certain you will agree that we are nothing if not great friends. If you say so, Arthur shrugged. And as a great friend, Arthur, Mr. Nick continued as he warmed his hands over the campfire, I was hoping you could help me with a small, minor inconvenience of mine. If I can, Arthur told him honestly, I will. Helping was in Arthur's nature, and Arthur felt certain he needed to help the snowy madman in red, if only to save him from freezing to death or being eaten by wolves. I seem to have misplaced my mode of transport, Mr. Nick confided with a saucy wink. I suspect some naughty young gentleman may have taken it, he added. I believe you may know them as... He consulted his notebook again. O'Driscolls. O'Driscolls, Arthur exclaimed. I wouldn't be surprised. I hate those goddamn sons of bitches. Language, please, Mr. Nick protested. Good manners cost nothing. I'm sorry, Mr. Nick, Arthur apologized. What I meant to say is, I have a strong opinion about those rude and unsavory gentlemen. That's better, Arthur, Mr. Nick replied, and for some reason Arthur was reminded of a Josiah Trelawney. Arthur wasn't quite certain why. At any rate, the gentleman in red continued, my mode of conveyance, one might call it a sleigh, has been, shall we say, liberated from my possession, along with certain livestock and several large sacks of miscellaneous packages that are of no concern to you, but are, however, of great concern to me. And I would consider it a great personal favor if you could retrieve said items and said mode of conveyance back into my arms before the night is through. I suppose I could try, Arthur said thoughtfully, though I'm not sure I can get your sleigh back tonight. Everything is possible on Christmas Eve, Mr. Nick assured him. It is the longest night of the year, and tonight will be as long as you and I need it to be. It has to, he added, his warm voice taking a darker, more serious aspect. For I have promises to keep, and miles to go, before I sleep. All right then, Arthur said as he stood up. Where did you last see your sleigh? In Strawberry, Mr. Nick answered. I stepped into the general store to buy some peppermints, and when I came back, my sleigh had vanished." "Okay, then I'll start there." "Well done, Arthur," Mr. Nick said with a hearty laugh. "Perhaps you can use those famous tracking skills that you learned from your friend Charles." "Wait, how did you?" Arthur started to ask, then thought better. It was a very confusing conversation, after all. "Until we meet again, Mr. Morgan," Mr. Nick said warmly. "Under happier circumstances indeed. And if you happen to encounter any of those naughty O'Driscolls," he added, "I would prefer if you treated them with a modicum of respect and good manners. Always remember, good manners cost nothing." And with that, the gentleman in red left the campfire, stepped back into the snowy shadows, and vanished into the cold, moonlit night. "What a lunatic," Arthur muttered under his breath as he broke down camp. "Okay, girl," he said to Biscuit. "Let's go to Strawberry."
Okay, girl. Yep.
As they hit the trail and made their way to Strawberry, Arthur found his mind straying to thoughts of Christmas and the few Christmas memories he had. Christmas with the gang was merely another holiday to celebrate, with whiskey and perhaps a roast turkey if Mr. Pearson could be bothered. Arthur's childhood memories were few and far between, faded and almost forgotten. His father had died in the war between the states. He had never known him. It had always been him and his mother, for as long as he could remember, until cholera took her when Arthur was 12 or 13. Arthur remembered one Christmas where him and his mother were very happy, and on Christmas morning he found 3 peppermints in his stocking that he had hung by the fire with care, along with a licorice stick, an orange, and a tiny carved wooden horse that his mama said his grandfather had made for her when she was a little girl. Arthur had many happy memories of that tiny wooden horse, worn smooth by time and tiny hands, and spent many nights around the fire clip-clopping with that tiny wooden horse and dreaming of adventure, while his mama cooked or worked on her sewing. Arthur wasn't sure what had happened to that horse. Some part of him hoped another little boy had found it, and the horse had gone to a happy home. Biscuit snorted as she trotted, sensing that Arthur was thinking of another horse other than her. Biscuit was very possessive, though she would never admit it. Arthur stopped to give her an apple and reassure her that she was the only girl for him. That crazy old man was right, Arthur thought as they stopped. This is a long night, unnaturally long. Dawn should have broke a couple hours ago, according to his pocket watch, and yet the moon was still high and the midnight sky seemed to have no end. Strawberry was quiet, as expected. "I better start my investigation at the general store," Arthur grumbled.
Last call.
"Good evening, sir. Routine store inspection," Arthur said as he burst through the door. "How do you do, sir?" the store owner replied. "Can I interest you in some root beer? Or perhaps something a little stronger?" No thank you, mister," Arthur tried to say casually. "Say, do you remember an older gentleman with a big white beard? He was wearing a red coat." "I certainly do," the store owner said quickly. He bought 8 peppermints and asked where the stable was. "The stables, huh?" Arthur said thoughtfully. "Maybe I should check there. Thank you, mister." "Merry Christmas," the store owner said as Arthur left. Merry Christmas to you too," Arthur replied.
Thanks, mister.
Arthur had completely forgotten it was Christmas Eve. "Okay, girl," he said to Biscuit, "let's go to the stables." "Can we get apples?" Biscuit asked hopefully. "We have over 90 apples," Arthur told her. 99 would be better," Biscuit snorted. "Fine," Arthur told her. "We'll stock up on apples." "Thank you, Arthur," Biscuit said primly.
Yeah, that's my girl.
The stables were just outside of town and on the other side of the river. Happy Christmas, Biscuit, the Blood Bay Andalusian told her. Biscuit was quite popular at the stables. And a happy Christmas to you, Biscuit replied politely. That's a fine-looking horse, the stable owner told Arthur. Merry Christmas to you, sir. Merry Christmas to you, mister, Arthur told him. Say, did you happen to see an older fellow with a big white beard earlier this evening? I surely did, the stable owner said. He was looking for his sleigh. His sleigh? Arthur asked. Yes, indeed, the stable owner replied. His sleigh was missing, and he was wondering if someone had turned it in. We don't have a lost and found, you know. Missing, huh? Arthur said thoughtfully. Any idea where it went? No, sir, the stable owner said, then hesitated. Though I did hear some fellas talking about the sleigh. Laughing about it, actually. Oh, really? Arthur asked. Anyone you know? Oh, not me, sir. I mind my own business, the stable owner said nervously. Though you know, those fellas sounded like they were sons of Aaron, if you know what I mean. You don't say, Arthur rumbled. Arthur knew exactly what he meant. It was just like the O'Driscolls to take advantage of a kindly and defenseless old man. Thank you, mister, and if you don't mind, can I get 9 apples to go? You can indeed, the stable owner said happily. And don't forget to have a happy new year. Yeah, Arthur said as they left. Come on, girl, Arthur told Biscuit. Let's head up to Lake Owanjila and see if we can find some O'Driscolls to question. Can I have one of those apples? Biscuit asked as she trotted happily. You just ate. I know, but I'm hungry. Fine, Arthur sighed, and he fed her another apple from his satchel. We only have 98 apples now, Biscuit said as she finished her late-night snack. I know, Arthur told her. I can count. We need another apple, Biscuit said nervously. We should have 99. Later, girl, Arthur said quickly. It's time to go to work. Arthur had just noticed a campfire that required inspection.
Easy, it's okay. Settle down, girl.
Arthur chugged a miracle tonic and walked boldly into their camp.
Ain't sure that word was followed, you get me? But like if a bear falls,
Good evening, gentlemen. Routine Christmas inspection.
you get out of here.
Okay, all right. I'll be on my way.
Go on home, your mam'll be waiting.
Waltzing in here like you own the place, the O'Driscoll greeted Arthur with a mocking sneer. Yeah, whatever, Arthur sneered back. Any of you morons know anything about a missing sleigh? Right, down you go, the O'Driscoll yelled, and attacked without further provocation. So rude.
I was hoping you'd get your hackles up. It's...
To the O'Driscoll's credit, they attacked as one unit. They were well trained. Regrettably, they had never encountered a mighty foe such as Arthur Morgan, who was making things more difficult for himself by choosing to go non-lethal. It was Christmas Eve after all, and it seemed like the right thing to do.
Keep still! Only they'd been friendly.
Okay, you miserable curs, Arthur growled as he hogtied the last one. Tell me everything you know about that old man's sleigh. It's broken, the O'Driscoll whined. We took it from Strawberry, but the reindeer stopped pulling, and the sleigh is too heavy to shift. And those packages, boyo, if you reach for them, they move ever so slightly out of your reach. That's the devil's sleigh, that is. Devil, you say, Arthur laughed. That's rich coming from you lot. Where is it? Arthur demanded. We left the whole kit and caboodle at the trapper's, the O'Driscoll whined. The reindeer wouldn't go any further. Right, Arthur said as he whistled for Biscuit. Well, you gentlemen just stay here and think about what you've done.
Listen, I know this ain't fun.
You're not going to cut us free? The O'Driscoll asked hopefully. You'll be fine, Arthur said as he rode away. I'm sure one of your friends will be over to check on you. It is Christmas, after all. Can I have an apple for Christmas? Biscuit asked as they rode to the trapper's. Just one, Arthur laughed. I think we can do better than just one. The trapper was open, as always. Around his stand was the missing sleigh in question, a huge black rig, bigger than the trapper's stand, covered in garlands and red ribbons. Scattered around the hill were 8 three-star reindeer, grazing peacefully in the moonlight. They looked up as Biscuit and Arthur approached, indifferent, and returned to their midnight meal. Those are some funny-looking horses, Biscuit whispered to Arthur. Never seen reindeer this far south, Arthur said thoughtfully, more to himself than Biscuit. He had learned to disregard most of what Biscuit had to say, as more often than not, Biscuit spoke a lot of nonsense.
So, buying or selling? Okay, let's take a look at it.
Good evening, sir, Arthur jumped off Biscuit and addressed the trapper. Appreciate you looking after the old man's sleigh. Happy Christmas, mister, the trapper told Arthur. Mr. Nick is a great friend of the trapper's stand. He can move across the map faster than me, and that's saying something. Yeah, Arthur agreed, and Merry Christmas to you. He turned away. I suppose I should round up those reindeer. No need, Mr. Morgan, a warm and familiar voice laughed. Arthur turned around to see the jolly gentleman behind the trapper's stand, one arm around the trapper. Thank you, old friend, he said quietly to the trapper. I left something for you by your fire. What? Arthur was difficult to surprise. It was a new sensation for him. How did you get here? With a little talent and great ease, Mr. Nick said with a merry smile. Let's call it old-fashioned Christmas magic, shall we? Okay, Arthur replied dubiously. If you say so. Mr. Nick gave a sharp whistle and the reindeer snapped to the sleigh, fully harnessed and ready to go. They are indeed funny-looking horses, he said to Biscuit. Merry Christmas, Santa, Biscuit told them happily. And a very Merry Christmas to you, young lady, Mr. Nick responded. Arthur Morgan, the gentleman in red, called out as he climbed into his sleigh. I find myself in your debt. No problem, mister, Arthur told him. Always happy to help. You are a true gentleman, Arthur Morgan, Mr. Nick called out as he rode away, and I wish you a very Merry Christmas. And you, mister, Arthur replied.
Hey there, girl.
Are they flying? Biscuit asked. That sleigh looks like it's flying. They can't be, Arthur told her as he rubbed his eyes. Must be a trick of the night. And as the sleigh vanished into the night sky, Arthur and Biscuit heard a distant, friendly voice call out, Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night. Arthur decided to return to camp to celebrate Christmas morning with all of his friends. They were his family, after all. And when Arthur awoke that morning at camp, he found 2 items on his table that weren't there when he fell asleep. A sack of Christmas oranges, enough to share with the entire camp, and a tiny, hand-carved wooden horse, the finish worn smooth by time and tiny hands, that Arthur had not seen or held in many years.
Good morning, Arthur.
And that, my friends, is how Arthur Morgan saved Christmas in Red Dead Redemption 2. With a little help from Biscuit. Or a lot of help, if you ask Biscuit. I hope you enjoy the holidays, whether you celebrate Christmas or not. And always remember, you may be too old to believe in Santa. However, Santa is never too old to believe in you. Arthur, John, and Biscuit, and all of us at Team Superantonio wish you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And in the immortal words of John Lennon, let's hope it's a good one, without any fear. I'm Superantonio. Thanks for watching. I appreciate your views. Like, comment, share, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell for daily Red Dead Redemption 2 content, and we shall meet again. Further on down the trail. To the O'Driscolls' credit, they attacked as one unit. They were well trained. Regrettably, they had never encountered a mighty foe such as Arthur Morgan, who was making things more difficult for himself by choosing to go non-lethal. It was Christmas Eve after all, and it seemed like the right thing to do.